Hi everyone, I'm Anton Strenger and I'm here with Ed Beach, the lead designer for Civilization 6, and we're here to talk about a couple different things. We're going to show off a Rome game, and they were just announced this week. They're a very fun civ to play. And then we're going to take a look at Kongo as well to show more details on some of the city growth mechanics and city siege mechanics.
Right, so let's go ahead and dive right into the Rome game. It was a game that I played just earlier this week.
Yeah.
Recent build, pretty much everything is up to date in terms of Rome, just announced this week, so it's the right civ to try out right now.
Yeah.
And what I really like about this situation is Rome has spawned in the middle of a continent, no sea coast in sight. We're right in the middle of a big Pangea map, and we have potential enemies on all sides of us.
Okay.
And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to kind of review the diplomatic situation that we're in, and then we can figure out what our plan of action is going to be.
Yeah.
So if you look at where we are, we actually have a bunch of units spread out across this three-city sort of triangular empire that we've developed. And to the north, you can tell that the top of the continent is there.
Yeah.
It gets tundra, then snow, then probably, icy waters up there.
Yeah.
So I have seen some barbarians to the north, and actually this Legion unit here is just coming back from sort of scouting around up there, making sure that we're not about to get overrun with barbarians from that direction.
Yeah.
It looked pretty clear, so I think we're good to take military action in other directions right now.
Well, if history can teach us anything, is that Rome doesn't have to worry about barbarians from the north.
Yeah. Rome, barbarians, all good, right?
Yeah.
So there are three other civilizations around us.
Yeah.
And let's start to the east, where we have found the capital of the Japanese Empire. Not very far away. It's sort of just down the road from us here.
Literally down the road, yeah.
Not only is Kyoto close, but we know that Hojo, the leader of Japan, has different agendas, like all of our leaders in Civilization 6, that get him either excited or angry, depending upon what's going on.
Right.
So we have talked with Hojo a few times, and let's go ahead and bring up his diplomatic card. And currently at the moment, we actually have an unfriendly relationship with him.
Okay.
And we will take a look at that. Well, one thing we did is when we settled our second city, it was sort of right between our two empires.
Yeah.
So we knew that that was near enough to him that was going to anger him a little bit. And he asked us to promise to stop settling cities nearby. And we're Rome. We're all about expanding our empire, settling cities, pushing things out. So we refused that. So again, those are the two, the -3 and the -6 penalties you see there both came from that.
Right.
However, I have found out that his hidden agenda is he likes highly cultured civilizations.
Oh, okay.
And Rome has the special ability that every time they drop a city, they get a free building in the city center.
Right.
That's going to be the monument pretty much any time you play.
For like an ancient era start.
Right. The only other time it's going to be something else is if you're starting in an age where the monument comes for free. So if you're doing like a modern era start or industrial era start and the monument comes for free, then you might get
Roman
something.
Sewers or something.
Yeah, sewers or something like that as your free building.
Yeah.
But we had all these monuments in our three cities, so we were developing enough culture. We actually sort of have a little bit of a culture lead over everyone else right now. Okay. So he liked that. The other good thing is we were the first person to develop our religion. You can see we've got the time of day system on, and we are heavily into sunset right now.
Yeah.
But our religion is not about to set because we actually founded Neptunism.
Nice.
I figured that we're showing off the aqueducts and bath capability of Rome, and
baths for everyone.
Yeah, the god of the baths that I could come up with was Neptune.
Yes.
So Neptunism is going to sweep the world.
And they're going to feed the world, and they're going to charge admission for the baths a little bit with the tithe.
Sure. And we're in 4 cities, and the other 2 religions are only in 2. So the reason that's a factor is the Bushido agenda that Hojo has is he likes to see civilizations that have culture and faith to go along with their military prowess.
Yeah.
And I've been building up my military, but I also founded a religion, and I also am pretty good on culture output.
Yeah.
So I'm actually thinking that long term we're in pretty good shape with him. He's unfriendly right now, but I don't think he's a big problem.
Yeah.
The other diplomatic situation we have is off to the west somewhere, and I haven't found out where. This is the civilization I just ran into. Here's a German scout, and so that's how we made contact with Germany. He came in from the west here, and past so Toronto, I'm thinking somewhere past Toronto is the Germans.
Gotcha.
And before I had met Germany, I went ahead and befriended Toronto, and we're now suzerain of that city-state. Toronto has a really nice, unique bonus that long-term will help us out with the industrial zones and entertainment complexes.
Yeah, especially if we have a lot of cities, as Rome is very good at doing.
Right. So I figured, well, let's get an early lead in sending envoys there. So at the moment, we're the only civilization that's sending anybody there. We've got 4. So I think we kind of have them locked down right now.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, as soon as we met Barbarossa, he's like, I like to conquer and kill city-states. What are you doing trying to befriend them? So I think long-term, he might be an enemy. But we sort of have met him recently enough that I think our relationship's still neutral.
Gotcha.
He is getting a little bit angry about our city-state activities already.
And the different governments, looks like, he is an autocracy. What government did you end up going with?
I am in an oligarchy because I wanted the military bonuses.
Yeah.
Oligarchy just gives you a straight-out combat bonus while you're in it.
Right.
It sort of represents that. We look at the oligarchy, that sort of Sparta is the model for it, but it sort of fits the early Roman Empire pretty well, I think, as well. So that's what I went for. So those are our 2 kind of off to the left and right neighbors, and I think we're okay with them for the moment. But we have to be careful not to do anything that's going to set off a whole bunch of warmongering, because we're in a really bad position if all 3 of those guys come after us at once.
Getting up on us, right? Yeah.
However, we have a pesky neighbor to the south, and you can see just by the number of warriors and scouts that are roaming around that Greece has just been this spreading amoeba. Their city's down, their capital of Athens is down here. They've dropped 2 cities, and they've been kind of scouting around our lands all over the place.
They're up to something.
And they're definitely trying to expand quickly, but on the same hand, they're not really backing it up with any substantial military force. I have not seen a hoplite yet. So the chances that they have some hoplites, that's probably true, but they're just sending warriors around us. I actually was really coveting this nice city location
here. It does
here.
look like a great spot. Yeah.
It's got some luxury resources.
Some wine,
There's
which you don't.
Wine and tea. I don't have wine yet. In general, Knossos, I think that should be a Roman city right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to take our legions for a test spin, and we're going to head towards Greece. And what we're going to do is think first about when we should declare war.
Okay.
With our new diplomatic system and the casus belli and the formal war versus the surprise war, kind of the timing of this becomes pretty important. And the earlier era you are in the game, you yourself, that's going to help keep down the warmongering penalties. And so one thing we need to think about is where we are on the tech tree and the civic tree.
Right.
So if we open up the technology tree, we're researching machinery right now. We can see that machinery is one of the first techs in the medieval era.
So that would bring us into the medieval. Yeah.
Right. So if we go ahead and wait 9 turns to declare war, we'll have finished machinery. We're going to have the medieval level warmonger penalty for doing that. And I would rather go with the classic penalty, which is much simpler. It's a lighter penalty. So actually, if I click on Pericles and I look at my casus belli tab and I see, if I declare formal war, it's only a light penalty right now. So it'd be perfect to declare on him anytime in the next, 7 or 8 turns, say.
Okay. So we're on the clock a little bit.
We're on the clock a little bit, yes. And one thing we absolutely need to do is mobilize our forces. We have this one legion who went out scouting in the north. He's not in a good position to attack. We did build an encampment here right in the center of our empire to sort of be our muster point for new troops.
Point, yeah.
And our legion just finished building there in Rome, and we can keep cranking those out. I also have the Agog military policy in place,
perfect.
so I'm getting plus 50% production towards legions. basically any ancient or classical or melee or ranged unit.
And we're racking up a nice legacy bonus for bonus experience as well.
Right, and I have been running this wildcard policy to help recruit great generals. I think I may have been the first civilization to bring an encampment online. So we actually just got a great general, and we'll show everyone who that is, and that's Sun Tzu.
Nice.
So we're going to have Sun Tzu leading our legions, and we're going to roll over Greece. So he's the guy that wrote the book on it. So we should be good in having him take charge of our army here.
Yeah. So he'll give a combat bonus and a movement bonus to anyone within 2 tiles.
Right.
That's kind of like of the same era. So the legions count for that.
And we'll even look at. It might be a little tricky to see, but there's a green border here, which is showing where his area of effect is.
Right.
There's also the blue movement border, but basically he's giving both these legions that are within 2 an extra movement point right now. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I really like about great generals is, when all your units are moving faster, just getting across the map through terrain, through choke points, everything like that faster. Great generals are a great way to do that.
Yeah.
The other thing we're going to want to do is we are going to want to cut off Knossos from reinforcement and supply, and basically we want to show how our siege mechanics work in Civ 6. So one thing we want to do is get zone of control around all 6 hexes of that enemy city, and with the river cutting right by that city, there are going to be some...
it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, we have to make sure the zone of control doesn't go across the river.
Right.
So normally, like a great way to put a city under siege is just get a unit here on the west side of it, a unit here on the east side of it. Those 2 units, if they're melee units, would have zone of control to adjacent hexes. Boom, done.
Yeah.
But we can't do that with the river cutting through. We're going to have to leave a 3rd unit over on this side of the river, exerting zone of control to those 2 hexes on the north side. Otherwise, they'll be bringing in supplies this way.
Yeah.
So I think the first order of business is going to be clear out the warriors that he has north of the city. I'm going to send at least a legion, maybe 2 to the south. Mm-hmm. And probably Sun Tzu will be on that side of things because we'll need our extra movement on that side. And I think that should be good enough to take it down.
And then do you have any ideas for a fort location? Because that's another unique thing that the legions can do.
Right.
Plop down a fort.
That's a good idea. I think probably these uncontrolled tiles on the south side of the river. Our force that's going to be in most danger of attack is anyone that comes across the river here.
Yeah.
So if we could build a fort on this side to kind of lock down that area, keep those guys able to continue to exert the siege on Knossos, I think that'll be a good place to use that as well.
Cool.
The other thing we have to think about is, do we need a battering ram? At the moment, Knossos does not have walls.
Does not have walls, yeah, interesting.
So that's, like I said, he was expanding wildly, but without much concern for any military repercussions of it. So
it's definitely a risk if you're building settlers and not walls and armies.
Right, it's definitely a great time to take them down. So let's start moving some units. We'll go ahead and pull those 2 legions down to be our Southern Expeditionary Force. And then we have to choose production in Rome. Rome has our encampment built, so it's got
that's a good place.
Production bonuses.
Someone in the chat was asking too if the Legion requires iron, and the unique units of civs, as a general rule, do not require strategic resources.
Right, especially early game ones, because we just didn't want a map spawn to knock you out of your unique unit when you might have it early in the game. Now, in general, iron is around pretty frequently, although I don't think I saw some out to the west here.
There's some by Ostia too, like on the far east there.
Right, and actually we do have it locked down there. So that's typical for an iron spawn. You might have to work a little bit to get to it, but pretty much there's going to be some source of it available nearby.
Too far, yeah.
So let's go ahead. This archer is actually, we just have to move him 1 tile further down. I'm not going to move them down yet because there are border wardings that can trigger. Once we get our military too close, Greece is going to ask, are you declaring war or not?
Yeah.
And
it might tip them off too early.
Yeah, we'd rather kind of hang back as long as we can.
Gotcha.
So we will just fortify him for now and go on to the next turn. And our legion coming from the north Still need some orders, so we'll get him moving, and now we're ready to end the turn. Okay, Japan has switched governments to oligarchy. That's that's good.
That'll work in our favor.
Yeah, they will actually like us better because of that. Okay, and Greece is going to the medieval era. So luckily the warmonger penalties don't go up based on your target. It's based on you.
Based on how civilized.
But we know that they're actually very close to where we are. They actually probably have like a 7-turn jump on us because it's going to be 7 turns before we get to that era.
So they might have crossbows depending on how they entered the medieval era.
Yeah. We actually, the other thing we can look at is like, I noticed Greece with their rapid expansion was doing real well in the score. So we've got 100, but they're up at 112, and we're just playing on Prince difficulty here. So, you know, theoretically I should be keeping up with the AI pretty well on this difficulty level, but their sort of rapid expansion strategy gave them a quick early score that we're going to have to...
For now.
Yes. have to limit.
Yes.
Okay, so next turn, let's just move Sun Tzu 1 tile so his companion can catch up. And he's got a new trade route. Do you want to talk a little bit about how some of the trade benefits of the Roman Empire work?
Yeah, sure. So their unique ability, All Roads Lead to Rome, does 2 things, actually 3 things. Every city that you found or conquer, so if we get Knossos, we'll see this, gets a free trading post and a free road to Rome, if possible, if it's within trade route range. And what that does is trading posts are part of the trade route system, and each trading post you have, normally your trade routes can only go 15 tiles over land, but if they reach a city that you have a trading post in, they can sort of refuel their range and go another 15 further. And every trading post you pass through in a foreign city will give you a little bit of extra gold. So if you have like a really long Silk Road type route that passes through a lot of different cities and you've traded in those cities before, you're going to make a lot of gold. But normally, trading posts in your own empire don't give you any profit. They'll help you get further, but Rome's special ability also, if they pass through their own cities, their own trading posts, they still get that extra gold. So having a really wide empire as Rome, you can still have these internal trade routes that will be making you gold, whereas normally you wouldn't.
Okay, and so we have a decision point with the new trader we just finished building in Ostia where we're going to send him. Right. There already is a trade route between Ostia and Rome, so I can't send a second one there. I don't want to send it to a Greek city because we're about to attack Greece, so we'll probably just lose that one.
Get bounced right back, yeah.
And I'm trying to sort of stay, I think there is a city-state that might have a quest for me to send them a trade route, but I'm trying to keep the number of envoys I'm earning down because there are all these players who are real touchy about city-states. So I'm actually going to send this one to Kyoto. It'll give us some more visibility into what's going on in the Japanese Empire, and so we can kind of keep an eye, making sure that our attack on the Greeks will not be disturbed by the Japanese.
Yeah, I like that move.
And, okay, so we're getting close to the river where we want to cross. Let's just move these guys one more tile down. Hopefully we won't trigger
the border warning.
Border warning. And now we have a production decision in Ostia, and this is a great time for us to talk about city growth a little bit. We're going to show it more off when we get to the Congo game.
Sure.
But Ostia's at a situation where it's housing, it's a population of 5 and it only has 6 housing, so it's starting to get near its housing cap, and that's going to be kind of a concern for it going forward. And luckily, as Rome, we have our wonderful baths that sort of make that really not that much of a problem for a lot of cities.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and start building the bath. You notice it takes a lot less time than most districts.
That's a special thing with the
because it's our unique district. And we have, it's a little tricky to see here at night, but this is obviously going to be our best tile for it because it has the lowest yields. So we'll choose that one. So basically we're going to divert water from the river back upstream into the city to fuel our baths. And so let's kind of talk a little bit about the details of city growth.
Yeah.
We have a panel that sort of helps you with that. These are the city details panels. There's one on growth, there's another one on all the districts and buildings in your city, and a third one on what's going on with religion in the city. But just to go through the growth one, I like to think of city growth as having a 1, 2, 3 rule.
Okay.
Because 1, 2, and 3 are like the crucial numbers for it.
Yeah.
The first thing to think about is it's a 1-to-1 rate relationship between what your population can be and how much your housing is. It's sort of a straight up pop cap. So for every one housing that you have, you can support a population. As it gets close to that cap, it's not a hard cap where it just cuts off and you get no growth after that. It starts to slow when it gets within one of it and then gets really slow above that cap. So if we look at the housing panel here, in Ostia, we're getting 5 housing from the water. This is a list of all the different things you can get housing from.
So once our BAT's online, we'll be getting some housing from districts.
Right. And the key thing to see here is we're getting some housing from improvements. The farm and the plantation here each give a half point of housing.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of, I look at housing as coming in sort of 3 layers during the game. Initially, when your city is first founded, it all comes from, is there fresh water there? Then it becomes, how much land have you grabbed and improved around the city, because you're going to have farmers and shepherds and other people around your city.
Yeah.
And you can support some housing out in those rural areas.
Yeah.
And the third layer that really comes into play late in the game, especially when you don't need as much farmland and you're replacing farmland with suburbs and neighborhoods and that kind of stuff. Neighborhoods being our neighbor suburbs, but that's sort of how you look at it from a historical point of view, is now all of a sudden the housing goes into those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the third layer of it. And so we don't have any of that yet. We're still just working on the water and just starting to get some of these improvements online.
Right, we're still early.
But when we look at the Congo cities later, we'll see all 3 levels of housing contributing there.
Yeah.
So back to the 1, 2, 3 rule, the number 2 is important because that's the important number for amenities.
Okay.
And you need 1 amenity for every 2 citizens in your nation. Although, like the first 2 are sort of freebies, it's not till you hit population 3 that you really need an amenity.
Right. Yeah.
So if we go down, the amenities tab's up here. We have a population of 5. So we need 2 amenities. We need 1 at population 3. We need 2 at population 5.
Right.
And we actually are providing them with 4 different luxury resources right now. So we are +2 in terms of amenities. That makes their happiness level happy.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, city growth's gone up by 10%, and all of the yields out of the city are boosted by 5%. So if we spend too much time at war, that can drag it down. If we let our treasury get bankrupt, that'll drag things down. There are a lot of ways amenities will fluctuate up and down, but right now we're in a really good place with it. And actually the baths will introduce even an extra amenity from that.
Unlike the aqueduct, the bath will give a free amenity in addition to the housing bonuses. So
right.
It helps with the growth for sure.
Okay.
And then what's the 3?
So the 3 is just, population is critical in this game because for every 3 population, you get to support a district in your city.
Okay.
So that's how I made it into the 1, 2, 3 rule. Is 1 for housing, 2 for amenities, and then that gives you population in chunks of 3 that lets you support districts. And districts are the fuel of the game. That's how you get great people. That's how you get extra yields in trade.
A lot of the buildings come from them.
Yeah. That's where you find places for buildings. Wonders need districts next to them. It's how you specialize your city. So that's really your goal, is to be able to bring as many districts online as possible, and every 3 points of population are going to give you another district slot.
So if you have like a one giant population 21 city, it can support 7 districts, and that's going to be better in a lot of ways than 3 size 6 cities.
Right, and there's some districts that don't even count against you. An aqueduct or a bath district.
Right.
Or a neighborhood doesn't count against that. And also any unique district your civilization is like really good at, like the Carnival district for Brazil or the Hansa for Germany.
Right, right.
Those are freebies as well. So you can end up with quite a few districts around some of your cities. All right, so back to war. Looks like sun is rising and it's time to get our armies marching. Okay, so this guy is going to go and clear out some of those guys on the north side of the river.
Those warriors, right.
And let's advance another turn. So Hojo did come to us. You build your empire as the rising sun is. Powerful and brilliant. So yes, this is we have triggered his agenda. He has noticed that we have a strong military, probably because we've been building legions to get our military strength up. And he noticed that we're accompanying that with faith and culture.
Which he very much approves of.
Right. So we noticed that the unfriendly icon's gone there. Yeah. He's now neutral. So we're definitely, both him and Barbarossa are neutral. Okay. All right, so we did it. We put too many troops on Pericles' borders, and he's asking us, come and fight or get those guys away. So this is, I think in Civ 5 you had to either declare war or say, oh no, my troops are merely passing by. Mm-hmm. There's sort of a new option here where you're allowed to ignore that in 6. There's going to be some diplomatic penalty for doing it, but it won't be quite as severe.
Yeah.
If we declare war here, it's considered a surprise war, and we're going to get the higher warmongering penalty.
Right.
So we're just going to pretend we never even heard him. The messenger was lost.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a civic boost towards civil service because we had just got a population 10 city.
Yeah.
And we also got one for construction because our water mill is now online. So
Excellent.
We're still, those are things, we'd set up ahead of time. So yes, we're going to come and smack Pericles soon, but now that he's already called us out for being on this border and we're going to take that diplomatic hit no matter what, we might as well move in and get fully mobilized.
There's like a juicy trade route that he's sending up there too. Depending when war happens, we could
plunder this one.
Yeah,
that's true. All right, so to decide what to build in Ravenna, if we're concerned he might put up walls, then I would go for a battering ram.
Right.
But otherwise, we might just want to go for more archers.
Yeah.
We have to be
3 legions.
careful.
Yeah.
Because if we trigger the Trek boost for machinery, because we get to 3 archers,
we would accidentally
bump ourselves up to the next era.
Right.
And take the higher warmonger penalty. But we can afford to build 1, so let's go ahead and do that and build 1 archer.
Someone in the chat earlier was asking, if we lose population points, do districts get sort of deconstructed because you can no longer support them?
And the answer is no.
Yeah.
They're still okay. You just have to have been at that population at one point in time.
Yeah.
And that will come, if you ever have a city trade hands in war, it's going to lose population when that happens.
Yeah.
And thankfully you don't have districts deconstructing on you or anything like that at that
You'll
point.
have other problems, but the districts won't be one of them.
All right, so we finished recorded history, which gives us a chance to look at our government and think about whether we want to make any changes there. We might be able to slot in something different.
Yeah, we have our Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu's already here, so let's take our wildcard policy out. I went for this diplomatic policy because it lets us stack up envoys over time rather than get freebies when we meet city-states. We're not really in a scouting the map, meeting city-states kind of mode.
Yeah, so might as well accumulate.
So I'll keep that one on. We want to keep cranking out the legions as fast as possible, so these 2 are good. But I'm thinking maybe conscription to reduce our unit maintenance.
Yeah.
Since we're building a big army.
Yeah.
That might be a good way to go. So we'll conscript some Romans into our legions.
Yes.
And the next civic we want to work on, we have the boost for military training because we have an encampment. It would give us 2 new policies. Let's go ahead and grab that one. And Rome has finished a legion and is ready for 1 more. I think with 5, yeah, that would give us 5 legions. That should be, I think, enough to do the job here.
That should be pretty good.
Okay, and let's move 1 tile closer.
Okay.
Yep, 2 heavy chariots. Now, heavy chariots are the beginning of our heavy cavalry line.
Right.
They upgrade into knights and then into tanks.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about heavy chariots is, as the tank of the ancient battlefield, they can ignore zone of control.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's going to come into play here. It's useful if you're trying to infiltrate in through an enemy's line and get some flanking bonuses, so you can skirt through them.
But he's on the defense this time.
He's on the defensive. I don't think it's going to be critical, but it's kind of a cool little point about the heavy cavalry line.
Yeah.
Archers and all those ranged units do not exert zone of control, and then the heavy cavalry line ignores zone of control. So there are a lot of, and then rivers block zone of control. There are a lot of cool little twists to how the zone of control rules work in Civ 6. All right, who else needs orders? Okay, this guy is right on the border. I kind of want him to rush right in from where he is, so he's going to just stay there.
Yeah.
And that legion could move further, but it's not going to. And this guy's going to come down and help the archer out. The archer's in position. All right, so next turn I'm going to declare war.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, well, Barbarossa has noticed our surplus of tea and is offering us open borders, 14 gold and 5 gold over the next 30 turns for our extra tea. So I might as well keep him and Japan happy while we're dealing with Greece here.
Yeah, that sounds good. And because we have 1 tea, we're getting all the amenities we can out of it. So those extra tea are sort of bonus tea that we can go and we can kind of wheel and deal
it's
with
not
the other players.
too in Civ 5, luxury good gave you 4 points of happiness.
Right.
And we kept that number 4 as the number for luxury goods. But what that means is that 4 cities can benefit from each luxury good in terms of getting an amenity.
Right.
So it is, if you're stacking up a lot of luxuries and you're building really tall cities, all those luxuries will go to the same cities.
Yeah.
If you're building a wider empire, you might have a little bit more trouble divvying out amenities for everybody because your luxuries will get kind of spread a little thin.
Right. Yes, like we have tea and citrus in our Roman Empire, among other things, and we have 3 cities. So
gypsum over here,
and gypsum over there, and
tobacco
tobacco as well. Yeah. So all 4 of those luxuries, they have 4 amenities to give, and there's 3 cities, so they each get 1. But if we have like 20 cities,
once we take Knossos, we'll still be fine.
We'll still be fine.
Yes, if we start going past that, then we're going to have to spread the luxuries out.
Or get some entertainment complexes going to kind of help bolster.
All right, so let's see what Pericles thinks of war. War now.
Very philosophical.
Yeah, he waved his eyebrows at us, but I don't know if that's going to help his city survive. Okay, so back to the map. Now we have to do our maneuvering. I don't think we can get all the way around the backside of the city on the first turn. So it's probably going to heal this first turn. So I don't think we should actually worry about damaging the city at all. Let's go right after the military units.
I agree.
So we'll soften them up. This guy can make a direct attack on that warrior. This legion, let's bring him across the river. And let's do some damage to this chariot. And then Sun Tzu will get out on the flank. And I think that's invasion turn 1.
Okay.
Okay, and our trade route between Ostia and Rome has come up for renewal. I think probably...
Once we get the bath, we'll have more room for population.
It might be better to send it out of Rome, though, because Rome's where we're building our legions.
Yeah, because that's where the encampment is. So we could transfer the trader to
Rome. Yeah, why don't we
Rome.
transfer the trader to Rome and next turn send the trader out of there.
Sounds good.
All right. This legion, that's right, because we have Sun Tzu here, he still has a movement point, so we can make a second attack here. I wasn't planning on getting an attack with both guys. I was thinking 2 movement, but...
Excellent.
Yeah. And
we got the chariot. All right.
Captured the marsh tile. Okay, so in terms of zone of control, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is only this woods hex here that we're missing.
Yeah. So next turn,
if we slide over onto the wine plantation, we'll have Knossos surrounded. So we can start damaging the city next turn, and we can be pretty sure,
It won't
unless he
heal.
gets reinforced, that it's not going to heal.
The trade route's going to reinforce, right? It'll be fine. It'll bring supplies.
Okay. Germany switched governments to Classical Republic. Oh, okay. Our archer's getting assaulted across the river by the warrior, but
Good luck with that.
he's a promoted archer. He's holding his own. All right, back to us. All right, so we're going to slide Sun Tzu and his guy over. Oh, wow, I was going to build a fort here and demonstrate that, and they just added the culture border grew around this guy. So let's move him forward. And then we'll have,
There's a scout up there. It won't cause too much trouble. We should.
let's take him out with our city strike here.
Yeah.
Oh, he still lived with a little bit, so we'll finish him off with the archer. Finish this guy off with the other archer. Okay, and let's have this legion start to damage Knossos. It's
All right.
kind of a tough attack over the river, but with it not having walls and stuff, we're definitely going to hurt it a little bit. And we'll bring up reinforcements. And this guy again can make another attack, even though he
moved, but he still got,
yeah, he's still got the extra movement points. So we'll damage the city further. So
Yeah, this is looking good.
yeah, it's pretty easy work here. Chariots and warriors against in unwalled cities against
Legions
the power
and
of
Sun Tzu.
Rome
Yeah.
and Sun Tzu. Yeah, it's just not gonna hold up. All right, we may not even need to build another legion, but heck, we're playing as Rome. Let's build one more. And now we have our trade route up here. We can send it out to maximize our production. So we'll send it back to our city of Ostia. And I want to show that the city doesn't heal, so we will not attack with this guy.
Okay.
Notice all of our new units are being created in our encampment when we create them in a city with an encampment. Just sort of helps with the normal stacking you have in the city. If you have boats created in a city with a harbor, they get created out in the harbor tile. If you get religious units created in a city with a holy site, they get created out in the holy site. We could actually demonstrate that now. We can create a new Neptunian missionary.
Excellent.
And he will appear at our holy site. Okay, just showing how that works. All right, so
I think probably next turn we'll have it.
yep, we should. And let's go ahead and get baths online for some of our other cities as well. So let's see what the Greeks, whether they have any kind of response. They might end up pillaging some of our trade routes. Our trade route out to Japan could be in trouble here.
Yeah. We got a lot of warriors up there. I forgot about that.
Okay. But, okay, notice Knossos kept the same health, didn't advance at all because of the siege that we'd set up around it. So I think we can go ahead and finish it off.
Okay.
We're still 2 turns from machinery, so we're still at the lighter warmongering level.
Which will apply when we take the city.
Right, because warmongering penalties come from either declarations of war or from city capture. And let's let Sun Tzu do the final blow here in a night battle.
Awesome.
Okay, and Knossos is ours. Okay, so last thing I wanted to demonstrate before we turn to the Congo game is just having a legion build a fort. Obviously, this is not a strategic location right now. It's in the middle of my empire, but It is cool that they serve as military engineers, and they get one charge towards military engineering, which means you have to use it very wisely. So you would not use it in a situation like this. It's sort of like when you're pushing your empire out to its limits, and all of a sudden, like if the Greeks had come at us with 5 hoplites that they had built up, and all of a sudden we were in trouble, then we would have wanted to use it. But you can actually chop down trees if you need to. You know, any of the things a military engineer can do, the Legion's pretty much eligible to do. So let's go ahead and show him creating a Roman nighttime fort here.
And unlike the builder and the military engineer, the legions do not disappear after their charges are gone. They get to stick around, so don't worry about that.
Right. He won't have any more charges, but he will be quite good at combat.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, so I think we're going to take a brief interlude here as we get our Congo game loaded up.
All right. Oh, someone was curious about the Keep City dialogue.
Okay.
So we have a couple
that's
choices.
actually, whenever you capture a city, you have the choice of either keep it, liberate it, or raise it.
Right.
So if we were fighting a war, like one of the casus belli is a protectorate war, where maybe you're intervening because one of your city-state allies has been attacked. If their city got captured, you can recapture it and then liberate it back to that city-state.
Yeah.
You can also fight wars where you're liberating. There's a war of liberation where like one of your allied major powers gets attacked and you go in and help them. So you can give cities back to people who had owned them previously.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that this dialogue does.
Right.
But in this case, we just want to keep it. The other thing you can do is if you ever want to raise a city, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
But we just want to keep the city in this case.
Yeah, now it's ours.
All right. So let's go ahead and get the Congo save loaded up.
All right.
We got a question in from chat about luxury resources. Do luxury resources automatically spread? You want to handle that one?
Do luxury resources automatically spread?
Like, how are they distributed between the cities?
Oh, yeah. So there's kind of this Department of Luxury Resources that every civ has.
That's true.
Yeah, so
I think one of us wrote the code for the Department of Luxury Resources.
Yeah. So what happens is every city is going to be different, right, in your empire. Like Rome might have the baths and a bunch of like entertainment complexes nearby, whereas some of your border cities might be, very populated, but not have anything kind of there infrastructure-wise. So what the sort of luxury resource governor does behind the scenes every turn is they will take a look at all the luxuries you have in your empire. So for us, it was the tea, the citrus, the tobacco, the gypsum. And each of those will give us 4 amenities. And the governor decides, okay, well, like, where should I put these in order to make people the most happy? So if you have like a very large city that does not have a lot of amenities on its own, it's going to put a lot of amenities there to kind of try to mitigate the negative penalties. But it's basically going to kind of spread them out, and it will respond like if you get a new luxury in a trade deal, or if you hook one up, the sort of governor sort of reshuffles things accordingly.
Yeah, there's so many things that change with city statuses from turn to turn, especially managing a big empire. We didn't want people to have to hand allocate these things. It would have been a micromanagement nightmare.
Yeah.
So the Department of Luxury Resources, I've never really had any problems with them. I've actually been pretty happy with the way they've handled things. So
yeah.
It's kind of nice. One thing it does mean is that when you get a brand new luxury in, you don't see the effects of that until the following turn. It has to kind of go in. Central luxury allocation has to go and divvy it out.
There's some red
first.
tape.
Yeah. So, if Barbarossa, rather than trading for a luxury, happened to send us one in that last game, there'd be a 1 turn delay before it actually gets out to the people and starts making them happier.
Yeah, but again, like one of the big differences compared to something like Civ 5 is that even though your luxuries are accumulated at the player level, these amenities from the luxuries are at the local happiness level. So they are kind of divvied up city by city. So whereas in Civ 5 you would have a luxury and it'd give 4 happiness kind of across the board. Having a luxury in Civilization 6 means you have 4 amenities to place in cities, but if you have a lot of cities, it's not going to go as far. You're not going to be able to stretch it as far. Right. So you have to make up for that with a lot of the
There's
other.
There's so much going on at
sources.
the local level with the city growth that we've been showing you, and that cities are really dominated by their local concerns.
Yeah.
There's this small set of things that happen regionally with the entertainment districts broadcasting.
And the Coliseum, which we're about to see.
Yeah, within 6 tiles. So there are some regional effects, and then there's just at the player level, there is the luxury resource allocation.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so I think we're in our Congo game, and I think we're going to swap mousing duties.
All right. So since we were just talking about housing and appeal and all that good stuff, let's take a look at how our Congo empire is doing right now. So we have a lot of very populated cities. Our capital is up here, Mbanza, Congo, at 16 population, and it's 1610 AD, so we're in the Renaissance-ish era. We also have a couple trade routes going, a couple city-states. We have captured the city of Osaka up here, which is kind of cool.
With the terracotta army in it.
Yeah, and it has the terracotta army there. It has an encampment. So that's a pretty cool city. And something that's particularly cool is we get to see, we have some infantry units here. They're actually corps. So this is when you take 2 units of the same type and you kind of combine them together to make them stronger. So the normal infantry unit would be, let's see, if we scroll down here.
Up a little bit.
Ah, yes, there it is. So yeah, infantry is normally 70 melee strength, and it would take us 19 turns. We can also make a corps or an army straight away, but it's going to take more time. But if we have 2 infantry lying around, we can combine them together into a corps, and now it's 80 strength. So it's not going to be 140, because the way our combat formula works, that would be like crazy powerful. So it's a way to make it's a way to kind of beef up a particular unit. And because it's 1 unit per tile for the most part, of course there's support units that can come into play as well. This is going to be a really great unit to kind of like punch through a line or like hold.
Yeah, the +10 really means like he's an extra era advanced in terms of technology.
Exactly.
Now this unlocks the ability to form corps and army unlocks through the civics tree,
Right.
so it's sort of a whole other path to get there. But it's a way to boost all your military units, on another side of the game, and then from the science side of the game.
Right. Yeah. Cool. So back to our kind of heartland here. Oh, something else that's cool. We actually have a national park right here. We found it with one of our naturalist units. Where's the name? Christensand National Park. So this is giving us some appeal, some tourism, and some stuff that'll really help us.
Yeah, if you look, I think Pete Murray is our one who set this game up for us.
Yeah.
And he's really pushing culture. You can see up in the top bar the tourism output right now.
Yeah.
217. That's
pretty good.
Quite strong. So he's well on the way to a culture victory in this game.
Yeah. So our 3 cities here kind of like have an interesting setup. So they're all pretty high population. Kinshasa here, so if we open the city details panel, again we can like kind of see the 1, 2, 3 rule at work. So we have 27 housing for 16 citizens. So we have a bunch of the unique district for the Congo here, the Mbanzas. So we got one here, we got one here, we got one here, we got one here. And what the Mbanza does, it's a replacement for that neighborhood district that you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. And the way that neighborhoods normally work is that they'll give you housing, but the amount of housing depends on kind of like how cool of a tile it is. And we measure the coolness of tiles in what's called appeal. So if we look here, like the appeal down towards the bottom of that tooltip is charming. And there are different things that affect, that's breathtaking. So things like national parks, things like terrain will affect the appeal of a tile. We actually have a lens we can turn on for that. So if we look here, around here we have some very appealing tiles. Over here in the jungles, it's not as appealing. People don't really want to live there. But we're not building neighborhoods, we're building the special Mbanza district. And so the Mbanza district can only go in rainforests or in woods, but it gives 5 housing, so it's kind of like a guaranteed, pretty strong housing amount.
It's like equivalent to what you get from a charming appeal tile.
So it's like a well-placed neighborhood automatically, and it unlocks earlier. So Congo can start growing cities very big, very early.
I'm not sure I've seen it at night before. With
yeah,
all the
it's actually really cool.
fun little fires and
yeah.
Torches outside the buildings. So it's very cool looking.
Yeah, so let's take a look here. So we're totally fine on housing here. We're also just good enough on amenities. We need 7, and we have 7, so that's fine. 3 of them we're getting from that Department of Luxury Resources that I was talking about.
Notice you're getting 1 from a national park.
We are.
It's near enough that it's giving you 1. I think Kristiansand, which is the city that's hosting the national park, should be getting 2 from the national parks.
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
Yeah.
Sure enough, yeah. But Kristiansand also is not quite as happy. They also have 7, but they need 8 because they're a little bit bigger. They're getting 6 from Luxury Resources, which is great. The department's like, okay, you need a lot because you got this -6 from war weariness going on.
Okay, and interesting. I can explain exactly why they have the -6 from war weariness.
Yeah.
Kristiansand, that's not a Congolese name.
It's not, is it?
So I bet if I asked Pete right now, he would tell us that he conquered Kristiansand.
Pete, were you bad?
From maybe a Norwegian player earlier in the game. And because of that, those people are not native Congolese.
You mean these Norwegians down here? The ones that are...
Yes, exactly. Those Norwegians, exactly.
Yes.
So, because a lot of the population of Kristiansand is not native Congolese, they're going to be they're going to be kind of the first people to get upset with the government.
That makes
so
sense.
if the government has been fighting a few too many wars for their taste, it's going to be those people that are going to suffer the war weariness first.
Yeah.
So you're going to actually have to watch out. If you're a big warmonger, the cities that might revolt out from under you because of a lack of amenities and things like war weariness and bankruptcy building up, those are the ones that you have captured since the start of the game. So that's
right. So
that's one advantage to founding cities yourself rather than just try to roll over everybody in the game. Some people say, well, I shouldn't build a second or third settler, I should just go conquest right from the beginning.
Yeah.
But there is an advantage to having sort of native population cities.
Right.
In terms of like the way war weariness gets absorbed.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Another thing is, so housing here, we don't quite have as many Mabanzas coming for Kristiansand here. So we have 18 housing for 17 citizens. And so because we're close to the cap but not quite at it, we're actually growing a little bit slower. People are getting a little bit more crowded. And then if we go over to Mobanza, Congo, our wonderful capital here, again, we're good on amenities. And it has no war weariness because it's our capital. They've been there since the beginning. But we are at the housing cap. We only have 16 and we have 16 citizens filling it up. So our population growth is slowed even more. So if we wanted to improve this, these would be some great spots for some Mabanzas here. Again, with the appeal lens, we can see all this red doesn't matter because we could just drop a Mabanza and they'll be perfectly fine.
Right.
And actually an interesting point, so the Mabanzas down here, they're actually really high appeal tiles, so they would have been great neighborhoods, and I think the neighborhoods would have actually given some more housing. Yeah. But the Mabanza just kind of gives a flat amount every time, in addition to other...
Congo is absolutely the great civ. India's good because it is a unique improvement that gives housing, but having a district that just is really good at housing. Congo was famous for having a huge city in the jungle in the Middle Ages when the Portuguese first found them, and so that's sort of the bonus that the historical tie that we've been playing up with them is that they're the empire that's really good at growing large in terms of population. They don't have to worry about population limits at all.
Yeah. Another thing that's giving us some amenities is we have built the Colosseum wonder right here, and here we got the Hermitage under construction. But what the Colosseum does is gives us 3 amenities for all cities within 6 tiles, which is actually all 4 of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so the Colosseum is actually really, really greatly placed. And I think it's actually close enough if we took this Norwegian city later, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they would have circuses as well. So
the Department of Military Planning and Circuses has been working on this, I see.
Yeah, I think these Congolese heard about our Rome game and they want some Rome for themselves.
Well, actually, one thing to do is pull up the victory screen. Let's look and see how close we are to victory in this game.
Sure.
So we're leading in science and culture and domination, but Scythia is leading in religion.
Scythia, what are they doing?
So let's want to briefly take a tour through each of these just to see which one we're closest to?
Sure. Yeah. So so science. Let's take a look. Actually, let's take a look at score too. The time victory. Oh yeah, we're actually doing really well with the score. Science, nobody has launched a satellite yet. 1610 AD, very surprising. But before anybody's taken the first steps, these rankings are based on. Civ fans will recognize the sort of pointiest sticks screen kind of reflected here. So we have a lot of technologies researched, and we see our science per turn, culture per turn, and we get that really high tourism. So let's take a look at that.
Yeah, it's sort of like the pointy stick screen is sort of available to you at all times here.
Yeah.
And replaces a lot of what Civ 5 players used to pull out of the demographics screen.
Right.
But this is sort of like a little bit more directly focused on victory paths.
Yeah. It has a lot of numbers right at your fingertips. Here's the culture victory screen. So we can see we actually are well on our way. We have 49 out of the 66 tourists that we need. And we can actually see where those tourists are coming from.
The Spanish like visiting us the most.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure where Spain is, but obviously we're doing well with them. We have a trade route to them that's helping boost our tourism. So a lot of the same kind of factors that were in the Brave New World tourist victory are also computed in terms of how your tourist output attracts people in from other nations.
Yeah. And then let's see, like Norway here. Okay, we actually have a penalty to tourism because we're different governments. Right. So they don't quite see eye to eye with us.
That's probably why there are less of them than Spanish that have visited us. And one question that keeps coming up with Congo, and we're about to get to the religion victory screen, is can Congo, because they're limited, they can't found a religion, actually win a religious victory?
Yeah.
And that actually is not possible.
Yeah.
You have to found a religion in order to claim a religious victory. Even if you take over a holy city of another religion, it doesn't really count.
You never have your own religion.
Yes, it has to be your own religion that takes over the world.
Yeah.
We have been playing quite a lot, as you'd imagine, being a month out from release, and we are seeing a lot of religious victories right now. It's definitely a factor that we're having people kind of not taking it into account, that a religion victory is sort of one of those earliest possible victories.
And it can kind of sneak up on you. And I think that's actually happening this game. Looking at this screen now, Scythia is actually more than halfway to converting the entire world to Sikhism. So everyone, it looks like everyone probably on our continent, we have Norway, us, themselves, Spain, and Japan are all converted to Sikhism. So there's another continent over here. It looks like they are the Eastern Orthodox. So they are, for now, safe from Sikhism. But yeah, if we don't watch Scythia carefully, they could easily run away and get
I do think victory. We're well on the way to the culture victory.
Yeah.
And it's gonna, this is a lopsided enough game, and I think we'll have a culture victory before we get all the way up to the modern era.
Yeah.
So I think that probably Congo's in good shape to win that, but I would actually get some boats out in that ocean and just make sure Scythia I think is below us here, and they could send their missionaries by sea over to that other continent without us really noticing it, unless we send some boats out and scout for that. So that would actually be one of my next moves in this game.
Yeah, so maybe Scythian missionaries on the way to the new continent have some unfortunate shipwrecks out in the ocean.
We could, have a navy. I don't know if we have a navy, but we might want to build one to interdict the Scythian missionary rush to the other continent.
We've got a city on the coast here, and Mbanza Congo could probably support a harbor. So yeah, we could get some ships going. We do have Caravel here. So
send that south right now. Let's see if we uncover a Scythian missionary, I'll laugh.
Oh, and England's actually trying to come over to our continent and convert some folks to Eastern Orthodox. So maybe that'll
hopefully
help
that means that the Eastern Orthodoxy is healthy and vibrant and not in any danger of being snuffed out.
Yeah.
We are actually noticing the Scythians are doing quite well in religion. They have the Kurgan unique improvement. So everyone thinks of Scythia as the early game rush wonder with their horse archers, but the Kurgan is actually quite a good faith generation spot. They've got 2 Kurgans there right next to a pasture.
Yeah.
Almost all their Kurgans are next to pastures. So they're all, instead of giving +1 faith, they're going to have +2 faith from each of those Kurgans. So that's like a couple extra holy sites.
Yeah. And then they have, looks like Hagia Sophia down here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the AI did quite a nice job of setting up a dangerous Scythian religious game, as well as, I'm sure they pushed the horse archers out as well, like they always do.
Yeah. So yeah, we got to keep an eye on them. And it's funny because as Congo, you can't win the religious victory, but you sort of have this interesting dilemma in situations like this where you don't want someone else to win the religious victory, but if they're spreading their religion like enough and they spread it to you, you're reaping the benefits too.
So everything that Sikhism is giving to Scythia, it's giving to us now as
Yeah.
well. So we should look at what that is.
Yeah, let's check out Sikhism. Founder Scythia, 28 cities, yeah. Okay, so we have, oh, this is actually probably, depending on how many relics we have, we'd probably be getting a lot of faith and tourism.
Right.
So that probably helps us. We can construct watts.
And actually, that plus 62 gold per turn, some of that's coming from the church property belief because there's gold.
Yeah, it's probably being counted in our cities, yeah.
For every city following.
That's great, yeah.
All right.
Very cool.
Well, I think we're about at the hour mark. So that's sort of kind of the combat tour with Rome and the city growth tour with both Congo and Rome that we wanted to give for today. So we're very excited that we're getting real close to launch here.
Yeah.
And happy to do a live stream, and I'm sure you guys will see us all again soon.
Thanks for tuning in.